Hey guys, welcome back to Andy's Dinosaur Reviews, and today we have another brand new PNSO figure that has just recently released. This is the first time I would say that this actual species has ever gotten the model treatment that I know of. I don't know of anybody else that has ever created a model of this, and as you can already see, this is the Livyatan. And what a really cool species to go and create on the part of PNSO. This is one that really came out of left field, if you ask me, and one that I really didn't see coming. But honestly, it's kind of been a long time coming. Like, it's really weird that we haven't gotten a model of this. I don't know if people just aren't a big fan of, like, prehistoric whales or what, but we don't really get very many. And when we do, we certainly don't get Livyatans, and it is awesome to have one here, especially from PNSO. But as far as the box art goes, you can see it's pretty much just like your standard PNSO box art. We have, again, the species name over here. Beautiful image of the species right there. If we come here to the top, you can see yet another really nice image of the head area of the Livyatan. And then, again, PNSO, as well as every life deserves your respect. And if we flip the box back over to the other side, it is exactly the same thing as what we had seen on the front of the box. So let's pop this open and take a look at it. So first of all, we have our booklet like we always do. And I'm going to go ahead and say that as we get into this booklet, we are going to see pretty much the standard photo shoot that we get. First of all, we have a really nice silhouette right there. But we always have like a photo shoot here inside the initial area of the booklet, and you can definitely see that straight away. We've got some absolutely fantastic images of the figure we are about to take a look at. You can see a really nice looking image right there. And then as we continue to go through, again, there's usually like a plethora of really nice looking images of, I would imagine this would be the prototype for the figure, and it looks really nice. Again, similar to the Tylosaurus, and straight away you can see on the prototype itself, we have those seams back here, and I'm not sure what has actually occurred that we continue to get those seams. A lot of people seem to be pretty mad about the seams, but again, it's an area that I don't really mind. I think, again, the figure would be better if it had no seams, but I really don't mind them to begin with because it's just not a big deal to me. Seam lines have never been too big of an issue when it comes to my models, unless it's, of course, there's like a gap or something, then I don't like the seams, but as long as there's no gap, I don't mind seams at all. But here we can see again an image with the silhouette of the Livyatan with the skeletal reconstruction, and then we continue to go through, and now we have some fantastic artwork right there. Look at how super cool looking and lifelike that is. Really beautiful work and more incredible artwork. Look at the color scheme on that one. Wow, that is just crazy cool looking. Did not expect that to be as flashy as it was. That is an awesome image right there. And then we get to this point, and it's just kind of like a ton of information that, of course, you would want to purchase the model to get the booklet to read about your Livyatan. So really cool, as always. And then I am intrigued, of course, to see what our poster looks like, because PNSO always gives us awesome artwork in the posters, and actually it is the exact same image that I was literally just talking about, how cool it looked. We have that image with the super cool looking, really flashy color scheme for our Livyatan in here. And that is definitely some more absolutely fantastic artwork, as always, on the part of PNS. So I love that they started to just include posters. Like, before it was like a little booklet, and then on the back of the booklet it was a poster, but now we just straight up have a poster, and it is always so cool. You could flood your walls with incredible images of prehistoric creatures, all thanks to PNSO if you purchase their models continuously. So awesome, awesome, awesome as always. And then, just like always, we have ourselves our pegs to put our model onto, and then the Livyatan itself, and boy, is this ever a big one. This is definitely a very large model on the part of PNSO, and definitely a very striking model of a super cool, very underappreciated, I would say, species as far as models go. And if we come back here a little bit, just get a little bit of a better image. There you go. You can see the model, of course, not up on the pegs, but just sitting here on the table. And boy, I must say, what a real looker this model is. Again, such an incredible species that finally has a model. Like, it has been so long that I'm sure tons of people have wanted a model of it, and we now finally have one, and it looks really nice. So let's jump straight to a closer look right now. So starting up here at the head sculpt, you can see that we instantly can take note of all of the really nice detailing to our whale. You can see that there's just so much beautiful detailing to the skin and the overall structure to the Livyatan, and it looks so good. You can really see how nice the detail there is around the eye. Like fantastic, very minute detailing there to the eye, making it look super lifelike. And you can also see that the eyes themselves are painted really nicely, very precise paintwork in that area. And then of course we can come down here into the mouth, and the mouth doesn't actually have an articulated jaw. Kind of has the seam line like it was potentially an idea at one point, but we don't have an articulated jaw, and I'm okay with that. I don't think that it really needs one, and I feel like it looks really nice in the positioning that the model is currently in, with the mouth open, but it's not open super wide like we saw on the Tylosaurus yesterday. I feel like the mouth is at a really nice, very comfortable distance, and it looks really good as far as the overall appearance goes. And look at the detailing on the inside of the mouth. Wow, that is just staggering, as it always is, and the paintwork is just phenomenal. Look at that really nice paintwork in there. I love that they have like tones of pink and kind of light off-whites and some browns. Like there's a lot going on in there, and we can see the same thing for the lower jaw. Looks really nice. Each and every tooth is sculpted individually, also really nicely painted. You can see there is no sloppiness at all. We have a really nice purplish type of a tone. Actually, yeah, it's like a light purple, I would say, bordering on a pink, and it transitions to a slightly different shade of pink there for the inside of the mouth. That's a really cool image right there, looking at it straight from the front. And again, the teeth are all really nicely sculpted and really nicely painted. I'm really quite impressed, honestly, with just how nice and realistic the inside of the mouth looks. This is, of course, the first time I'm really getting a look at the model, and that is a really impressive inside of the mouth. We can also take a look here at the opposing side of the head. Again, some more really nice detailing, just like we had seen on the previous side. And we have like a really dark gray for the most part, but it also has kind of like a bluish look to the skin here on the upper part of the animal, and I think that looks really cool. They've done a good job as far as the tones chosen, making it look really nice and lifelike. And you can see that the darker coloration does then transition to a nice white coloration for the underside, and it's not like any type of a gradual transition. It's like a very abrupt transition, similar to what we would see on a lot of species like this, so I think it looks really nice and natural. Again, here we are with the seam area that some people are not a big fan of, and yet again, I must state that I personally do not mind it at all. And in my opinion, I don't think the seams take away from the model in any way. Of course, I would prefer them not to have seams. That's just a given for anybody that would like to collect a model of any species, period. But it's also not something that turns me away from the model. It doesn't make me look at it in any type of a different light. Like, I really think it's a fantastic looking model regardless of the seams. And as we move back here into the fin of our model, you can see that the texturing to the skin is really nice. Like, it's super fine, but it is actually really nice and realistically applied. And again, on something that you would expect to really just have smooth skin, you wouldn't be able to really find too much of a way to include very nice, very fine details. PNSO has done a really good job of doing just that, and they've also added some nice creasing there in the body where the fin connects. And again, the paintwork is really nice. As you can see, we have like this really nice dark gray, and there's also like some light hints of blues in here, but you can see a transition to a nice kind of a lighter blue as you reach the end of the fin, which is very similar to the Tylosaurus that we had reviewed yesterday. As we continue to move back along the course of the animal, you can see the spinal column up here on the top, quite nicely shown in the sculpt. Again, just an absolutely massive animal would be this whale. You can actually see like what appears to almost be like some injuries and stuff on the side. That's really cool. I love when companies do that, because that's definitely 100% something you would see on this animal if it were alive, and on pretty much any marine animal. You would see, you know, injuries and stuff, at least if it's reached an age like this one probably has. You're definitely going to see injuries and stuff like that. So that's really cool on the part of PNSO. And again, you can see how the overall structure of the body looks, as well as the really nice texturing to the skin as we turn it and let the light kind of hit it. Really nice, really natural looking transition from the very dark coloration of the body to the light coloration. And it actually appears as though there's like a black that kind of borders right here. It's like a different shade. It's like a darker shade of color than what we see up here. Like you can really see some very nice blues. And again, you almost don't even pick up on how colorful it actually is until you have it in a nice light and let the light shine on it. Like there's some beautiful, very light blues in here, and it transitions to a black up here on the top of the body that runs along the back, but you can also see kind of like a black that sort of outlines the darker coloration before it transitions to the white. And as we continue to move back along the body, you can kind of see some more of those like cracks or injuries right there, maybe some scars. And then we reach the tail fin. The tail fin also looks really nice. There isn't too much difference as far as like the coloration goes. It's primarily just the really dark color that we see kind of running along the back. They've basically given it like a very dark, almost like a pavement gray. There is another little area back here that looks to be another scar potentially on our whale. And then here on the underside, this also sports that very dark gray, but I can almost pick out on some like very light hints of some blues and stuff right there. But then as we move back along the course of the body here, of the underside, of course we have that really nice white, a very bright white, just making the entire underside look nice and soft. I just want to kind of lay my head on his belly and just go to sleep. Alright, that's not true. But regardless, it does look really nice and smooth here on the underside. You can see a little hint of pink right there. And again, right here on the underside of the jaw, as we move up here, some nice kind of wrinkles and creasing and stuff here on the underside, which looks really nice. The underside of the fins also has that white coloration. And then if we turn it around, you're obviously not going to see too much difference over here compared to what we had just seen on the previous side, because of course it's not in any type of a dramatic positioning. It's primarily just swimming along almost straight, but has kind of a curve here in a downward position as the whale swims along. But again, it looks just as beautiful over here as it did on the initial side. Again, I really love that subtle way that the blue shines through when you let the light hit it. From a distance, it really does look like it's just a very dark gray, but then when you get close and you actually move it, it's so cool looking the way that the light appears on it and the difference of color appears on it. That is really, really neat. But again, it looks pretty much the same over here like we had seen on the previous side, which means it looks fantastic on both sides. So let's go ahead and check out a size for this whale. So our Livyatan is now on the pegs here, looking really cool. Definitely looks nice on the pegs. So for a size, lengthwise, you were looking at about, I'd say about 12.5 inches or about 32 centimeters roughly, somewhere in that vicinity. And then the highest point is definitely the back due to the bend in the body. And with it up on the pegs, the highest point is about 5.25 inches, or closing in on about 13.5 centimeters, roughly somewhere in that vicinity. For a size comparison, there is Mr. Papo T-Rex, the Attack Pack Colovosaurus, and Robert Muldoon from the Mattel Jurassic World toy line in comparison to our PNSO Livyatan. And you can definitely see that the model overall does sport a pretty good size, pretty impressive size, definitely a larger PNSO figure, and deservedly so due to the species that it is representing, but hopefully these figures in comparison will help to show you that. And then for a second size comparison, here are the PNSO Chronosaurus and Tylosaurus models in comparison to the Livyatan, showing you again that all of these do sport a pretty good, pretty impressive size. But as far as overall body mass, I think our prehistoric whale friend here takes the cake. And then for the final comparison, and the comparison as far as figures go that I think that most people would probably want to see here, we have the PNSO Megalodon figures. Obviously, the one on the left is the large vinyl version. The one on the right here underneath our Livyatan is the more recent, smaller version. And you can definitely see, again, size-wise, how large these figures are in comparison to each other. The initial vinyl Megalodon is a huge figure, and you can see that it is a good bit bigger than our prehistoric whale here. And the newer one is a lot smaller than the Livyatan, but hopefully this will help to give you the size comparison you are most likely interested in. So this PNSO Livyatan model is definitely another really nice model from PNSO, and they continue to basically flood us at this point with really cool aquatic species. we've had numerous now, like we just saw. We saw the Tylosaurus, Chronosaurus. With this one, we also have had recently a Dunkleosteus. Obviously, you can see that we've got a few Megalodon that we were just taking a look at a moment ago. And there's also a Himalayasaurus coming out from PNSO as well. So there's a whole lot going on. And there are others, that we've had in the past, like the Dacosaurus and Basilosaurus and stuff. Like, there's a lot that they've released prehistoric, marine, animal-wise, but it is absolutely awesome that we now have this Livyatan, because this is one that I've never seen a model of before. So it's awesome to be able to enter one into my collection. Finally, something like this has been released by a company, and I'm really happy it was released by PNSO, because they always excel when it comes to their models. And not only do they give us great models, they almost always give us like the definitive versions of whatever species they release. And this one definitely looks to be pretty much what I would consider the definitive version, even though we really haven't had any other versions. But if any more come along, in my opinion, I feel like it would be a pretty hard uphill battle to defeat this one as far as the overall appearance and beauty goes. Of course, again, we do have the seams, though, on this one, which some people are not a big fan of. But like I had stated earlier, that is not a big deal to me. I don't mind it. Some might look at it as a downside. Personally, I do not, so it's really, I guess, based on your preference. But as far as I'm concerned, that's the only thing that could maybe potentially be, considered as a downside for the model, because everything else otherwise looks fantastic. The sculpt is really beautiful. It's not obviously in any type of a crazy dramatic pose. I wouldn't expect it to be. It looks to be in a really nice natural pose, just swimming along. And we also have a beautiful looking paint scheme for it, which is also really nice and natural looking. But again, at first glance, you look at the paint scheme and you think it's just a couple of tones of like dark grays and then a light underbelly, but it is not. There's some really beautiful lighter shades of blues included and darker shades of blues, light grayish tones and dark grays and blacks. There's a lot really included, but since the majority of them are all similar in tone, they kind of mesh really well and realistically throughout the course of the model. But we do have some, some whites and stuff for the underbelly. There's also a little area of like a whitish coloration around the eye. You have some really nice pink coloration showing up sporadically on the underside of the model, and you also have a beautifully sculpted and painted mouth. Like, the inside of the mouth is fantastic looking as far as the overall appearance to it, with the sculpting of the teeth individually and the many different tones of color used on the inside of the mouth. It gives it a really nice, really realistic and lifelike appearance. We again do not have an articulated jaw on this model like we do get quite often from PNSO figures, but I feel like the positioning of the mouth is picture perfect to the way I would like it, so I personally don't mind not having an articulated jaw. I'm also not one of those collectors that needs to have articulation on every model. I love stagnant models. I love the look of this, and the fact that it does not have an articulated jaw, just like with the seam lines, does not bother me at all. Of course, it would be fun to have a little bit of a cooler base as opposed to just pegs, but the pegs are still pretty fun, and PNSO has never really released like an aquatic species with a really cool base. The closest I would say that we've had in the past were pegs with kind of like a sandy look to the underside, and personally, I didn't really like it all that much. Like, it was cool, but it wasn't, anything that I felt like every model needed. So the peg look that we have here currently, as far as those two little pegs that hold it up, are really nice. And the fact that they're clear almost kind of makes it look like they're translucent. Like, they're not really obvious. They don't stick out to me. So I think that as well helps the overall appearance to the model. And then on top of everything, you of course have the really cool booklet. You also have a fantastic poster. So this model, in my opinion, is a definite win on the part of PNSO. As always, just based alone on the fact that it's a Livyatan, it is a win, but also based on the fact that the model really is beautifully done. So if you are interested in this, I will include a link in the description to where you can purchase this on the Amazon PNSO store, as well as the PNSO Aliexpress store. So make sure you check the links in the description. Go buy this fantastic model, and make sure you like, comment, and subscribe, and I will see you in the next review. Thanks for watching.